Speech? No, it's just me. Hello, Metopia. How we doing? Are we still okay? Yeah. Can I get a yeehaw? No. Can I get a yeehaw? There we go. That's better because coming up next we've got a couple of real deal, authentic American pitmasters, which you're not going to miss. So today we have been hosting the most incredible chefs here on the cutting room stage. We've had Caribbean food, we've had like barrel burning, we've had wild game. It's all been going off on this stage. And it's the big day at Metopia. You are exactly here at the cutting room stage, and this is where we like to feature independent, creative, international chefs that are going to share their passion with us and tell us all about why they do what they do. And also to make a stage like this work, as you all understand, festivals, to stay independent, to stay authentic, so we can keep coming back year after year, we need a couple of sponsors. And we've got cracking ones this year. So we've got Black Box BBQ, who have supplied us this beautiful monolith, which we've been cooking on. And Black Box BBQ even invent their own grills. So this back here is sort of a tabletop parrilla grill called an Escua. I mean, I've got one. I love it. You can cook anything on it. And if you wanted to go and chat to Black Box BBQ, they're just in there, just on the quay side. So go and see George. George said if you mention my name, you get 0.1% off anything you buy. That's how much weight I carry in this place. And then if you care about what you're cooking, you like beautiful meat, you've spent all the money, you've got to care about what charcoal you use. So you can see at the front there, we've got some wonderful Whittle and Flame charcoal. That's from our friends at House of Charcoal, which is a website that you can go on to buy British charcoal. And it's sustainable, it helps manage British woodlands, and it also contributes to regenerative farming. So, I'm Sam, by the way. I'm from one half of Hangfire Barbecue. I've been coming to this festival since 2016. You would usually find me on the quay over there, cooking on grills, looking like I've been fired out of a cannon. But they've given me a year off to bounce with you, have some entertainment, and host these incredible chefs, which is my great honor and privilege. The other half of Hangfire is around here somewhere, hopefully getting some fabulous footage of me. We'll see. There's always Photoshop, if not. And so our next chefs, which I'm super, super excited about, we started off in American barbecue, so it's something I'm hugely passionate about. And then we've got a couple of guys from Fort Worth, Texas. Real deal, Texas. Yeehaw! Just to say, this is the party. There's both their mums here. Say hi. And Chris's wife. Say hi. So they've come to support these guys. I think you are going to just absolutely devour this. So none of this polite waiting to be fed afterwards. I want a proper stampede for this food for when they finished it. But we're going to hear a little bit about them before. So if you're ready, Chris and Ernest, please give me a massive Metopia welcome to Panther BBQ. Woo!
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
There you go. How are you? Are you okay?
How you doing?
Oh, hang on. Look at that. Hang on. Was this part of the plan? Let's go over here, chef. I mean, this looks beautiful. First of all, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome. Is this
Thank
your
you.
first time in the UK?
First time.
It won't be your last?
Hopefully not. I love it here.
Are you enjoying the cooler weather?
Great weather. Great weather. It's about 100 back at home, so yeah.
It's about 100, which is like effing hot in Celsius, basically. So, Panther Barbecue, very excited that you're here. You're actually here on the quayside, right?
Yes.
And what are you cooking?
We're doing Texas-style beef ribs with chimichurri and southern collard greens.
Oh my goodness, come on. Has anybody had any Panther Barbecue yet? Hang on, what do you think? 11 out of 10. Don't let me put words in your mouth. No, just because they're here. Anybody else had some Panther Barbecue? Excluded, you're excluded because you live with Panther Barbecue. Anybody else? Sold out! Come on, round of applause for selling out. Not even by 4 o'clock. Okay, so tell us, what are you going to prepare for us today?
So today we're doing a brisket elote. So it's our playoff of Mexican street corn. Back at home, elote or esquite is known as a street corn. Many different variations. Sometimes you do it on the cob. We do a play off of it. It's our cup off the cob in a cup. We serve it. add some really good prime brisket on top of that and garnish it up. We spin it up with some cilantro, queso fresco, some hot sauce. A little bit different ingredients over here, stuff we couldn't source, but we played with it and it really came out great. So we're gonna kind of show you guys how to make that dish today. It's a really fun dish.
Yeah.
You can use brisket, you can use pork, you can use beef cheek, anything you want. It's a really fun dish to play with. It makes a great appetizer, a great tailgating dish as well.
I mean, you just say cheese, corn, beef, hot sauce. We're all like gooey-eyed over here. We can't wait to hear about it. And hang on, this looks like a beast of a brisket.
Yes.
You're gonna cut that up for us. You're gonna show us how to trim down a brisket as well. Oh my good Lord, look at this.
Yeah, so typically back home when we get a brisket,
I'm glad you brought a little one.
We get what's called a packer brisket that's already nice and pretty and trimmed up. And so when we called for one here, the first thing they asked us was bone in or bone out, which we never get that. It's already trimmed up. We still have to do some work, but this is a nice big cut of beef so that the brisket is actually a couple of different muscles in the cow. It's the flat of the cow, and then it's also the point where you get your, the flat where you get your lean meat from, and then your point where you get the fatty, that real juicy brisket in there. So we've got a couple of different muscles, but as we cook this, it's such a big piece of meat, it can take upwards of 18 hours to cook this thing. So we want to trim it down and get rid of some of this fat and make this thing a little bit more aerodynamic and pretty because not all that fat's going to really render down inside that pit. So this is such a simple dish, but this is really complex and we have to start with the hard part. So if you're not down for smoking your own brisket, learn how or find some really good brisket, make friends with a good pit master. So.
Yeah, I love that. And so Panther BBQ, how long has it been going?
So we opened for business in 2018. Really back in 2014, Ernie and I started competition barbecue, just something to do on the weekends and hang out. Going into 2015, we bought a food truck because my wife was mad that all our dishes were in our kitchen at home. So she said, get them out of here. So we bought a food truck. And then by late 2017, we had a demand for people for us to open a spot. So we found a location to park our food truck. Opened in 2018, and by 2021, we were eligible for the Texas Monthly Top 50 list.
Wow.
Which they do every 4 years, and we came in at number 10 on that list.
So just to interrupt, does anybody know how significant that is to be in the top 10 of Texas Monthly? It's the who's who of pitmasters in there, and you came in the top 10.
Yeah, came
number
in
one
10.
next year.
Number one next
Number
year.
one next year. I mean, that's a heck of a thing, considering you've been going since 2018. I mean, what a massive achievement. And did it change your business, like just even being listed?
Yeah, so if Texas Monthly pays you a visit, you can literally have nobody in your line one day and 200 people in your line the next day.
Right.
It's a really big deal. So yeah, it really did cause a big boom in our business. And not only that, but national outlets kind of check you out and they get notice of that and come talk to you. So that really just spreads like wildfire.
But I think that's obviously testament to what incredible pitmasters you are, even just to make it onto that list. So it's not as if they gave you the list and then people started coming. You've actually earned your spot to be there.
Right. It definitely wasn't overnight. You know,
right.
It's long days. Just like last night here, we were cooking from 8 o'clock last night. We finished up at almost 6 this morning, and then we're back here at 8:30 this morning to start again. We'll be here after midnight tonight cooking for you fine folks for tomorrow. So if any of you guys are coming back, we'll have more tomorrow.
I mean, but this is what I love. American Slow and Low isn't, you know, we understand it a little bit more in the UK now, but really OG pitmasters attending, there's no automatic button that you press. It's knowing your fire, understanding your fire,
right.
tending it. And of course, every piece of meat is different.
Right.
So the results can be, you need to make all the predictable things predictable.
Right.
And then work with an unpredictable piece of meat and weather and temperature and everything.
Exactly. Back in time, these were throwaway cuts of meat.
Yeah.
But people couldn't afford to throw them away, so they had to figure out a way to smoke them just to preserve them because they didn't have coolers or refrigerators. So smoking was a form of preservation. So that's really where it came from. And then over in our time, trial and error. We make good barbecue by making a ton of bad barbecue. And my mom, my wife, my mother-in-law were my sounding board. So they let me know when it was really bad. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And so tell me about this. So your style of barbecue is leaning towards sort of Tex Mex, right?
Right, yeah. Growing up in Texas, born and raised in Texas, you know, we're right near Mexico. So growing up with a lot of Mexican food, a lot of direct grilling, fajitas, tablitas, carne asadas, things like that. So when we started barbecuing, it was just natural to mix those flavors into our rubs and into our sides and dishes like that. So it really goes well just to take the best of both worlds, Tex-Mex food, Mexican food, and barbecue. once you smoke those meats and those flavors, it just elevates everything. So that's really what we put forward at our restaurant.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that because there's obviously a barbecue tradition in Mexico as well with barbacoa.
Right.
You know, and you find that barbecue, you know, real authentic barbecue does come from a place of poverty, comes from a place of, you know, having to make do,
Absolutely.
if you like. So that's where, you know, that sort of comes about, you know, and barbacoa is just amazing. I mean,
Yes.
but that tends to be heads of animals, right? The barbacoa
Yeah,
pit heads of animals.
cheek, tongue, everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's good stuff. So we got our brisket over here. So Ernest, are you going to show us how to trim it down like an absolute master?
Yeah, so he's going to take a lot of this fat off. That's what he's doing, and because some of this will never render down. We can render a lot down in that smoker over time. So he's going to go ahead and cut a lot of this fat off. Now, the very important thing when you're in the barbecue business and when you're cutting this up, you can just throw this in the trash and you're going to lose all your money. Because when you go to the butcher and buy this, it's expensive. So what do we do this stuff? We're going to set it to the side. We're going to use every bit of this fat, every bit of that meat. We can grind that stuff up, make house-made sausages. We can make house-made hamburger patties. We can grind it up, put it in chili. We do a dish called brisket guisada, which is like a spicy Mexican beef tips. We'll make it with gravy. So we use every single bit of that in dishes because if not, it goes in the trash and we go out of business. But they really make excellent dishes. It's not just junk we're putting out there. We're really putting a good spin on it.
Because, I mean, brisket, you know, you get a lot of shrinkage with brisket.
Yes.
So how much would you say roughly percentage when you make any kind of barbecue, whether it's brisket, whether it's pork shoulder, how much shrinkage do you
So on
usually
average
get?
on a brisket, you can get 50% or even more, 50 to 60% of that. You're going to trim some off, but as well as when you're smoking it, you're going to lose a lot of that fat that renders off down too. So you're looking at 50%, 60% shrinkage on that. That's why brisket prices are so high when you go to restaurants, especially if you go to Texas. They're really creeping up there.
Yeah.
But Texas barbecue especially has taken off across the U.S. There's a lot of people from coast to coast in the U.S. replicating Texas barbecue. In fact, Palmyra Barbecue here doing the whole hog.
Yeah.
He just made #1 on the list of Texas barbecue outside of Texas from Texas Monthly.
Wow.
So really big accomplishment. You guys need to check him out as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're the guys. Have you seen the cinder block pit that's out there? And they've got 3 barrels where they're cooking down
Right.
wood, and then they just do something called ember cooking.
Right.
A friend of mine opened one of the walk-in fridges, which are back here. I thought it was 5 dead bodies, but it was just 5 pigs that they're cooking over, which is just incredible. She was a bit alarmed, but she didn't complain. She just thought they're cooking dead bodies. That's all right. But they were pigs. And so do you do hog barbecue at all? Do you just mainly stick to brisket?
We're mainly brisket. So on any given Friday or Saturday, which is our busiest days, we'll do 85 to 100 briskets a day.
Wow.
Wow. On the
How many
pork end,
customers would you say that is?
We'll pass on a Saturday, 1,500 through there.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're really big portions, really big dishes. We have big parties that come in. We serve party trays that come on a full sheet pan. So you're talking, 5 or 6 pounds of meat on one tray for one guest. That'll come through an order for 2 or 3
This,
people.
like,
so.
if you've not joined Panther BBQ on Instagram, by the way, you have to. It just looks like every American barbecue fantasy I've ever had, but with a Mexican twist on it. It just looks incredible. Now, you've got a story about this dish that you're making for us today. Tell us about brisket elotes.
Yeah, so brisket elote, if you go to Texas, there's food trucks or food carts all over the place that sell elote, especially around bars late at night.
Also, tell us what elotes are.
So elote is a Mexican street corn. That's what it is. A lot of times, like I say, you can get it on the cob or you can get it in a cup. A lot of times it's based with mayonnaise and things like that. So anyways, one night we were anchored next to a bar. So one of the bar patrons came over. He had a few beers and he asked if we carried loadies. We're like, what are loadies? He said it a few more times, and I thought he was saying aloha, and I was like, I don't know. He said, corn. And I said, oh, elotes. Well, we don't, but we do have a cream corn dish, but we can doctor it up and dress it similar to an elote. And it was almost midnight, and Ernie's like, put some brisket on it, see if he likes it, just try it. So we did. We put some brisket on it, dressed it with some cilantro, queso fresco, and some hot sauce, and it took off like wildfire. And now that's our most popular dish. In fact, a lot of the big media outlets got a hold of it, and I think Eater put a video up on it, and I think we're over 3 million views right now.
Wow,
within a
come
3-week
on,
period.
3 million views for brisket elotes.
Yeah, so it's replicated all over the world, and we published the recipe. We had to tweak it here, but that's the fun thing with this dish is a lot of times recipes are no fun unless you tweak it to what you like.
Yeah.
Because we make it a certain way, you may not like salt, you may not like heat. So don't be afraid to tweak it to what you like, because that's the fun in it, and you're the one eating it, not me. So I'm going to make it my interpretation, but all this stuff right here, we can swap something out, and you can make your interpretation at home.
I mean, I mean, you're going to be making this dish for a long time, though, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
You realize
yes,
you're going to be an 80-year-old man going, like, if they ask me for elotes one more time.
Yes,
Yeah.
if we go through so much corn a week, it's just ridiculous.
Well,
So-
I mean, I think it's incredible to have a signature dish, and most of these chefs that have been here today have that one thing, that absolute light bulb moment that's
Right.
really helped their business. Can we just say, look how much trim is coming off this brisket. Isn't that pretty wild? So, I mean, it's exactly as you say. You've got to try and save everything. And you're right, brisket is great in burgers.
Right,
You know, you could
right.
do a slow braise, you could do pit beans, and then you can render all that fat down into
Right.
tallow as well.
Right, so we make beef tallow out of all that fat.
Yeah.
We take that beef tallow and not only use it to kind of top our briskets on when we wrap them, but we'll use it in dishes as well. We can smoke that fat and create a smoked tallow.
Beautiful.
When you're making dishes like collard greens or mac and cheese or anything that calls for a butter or shortening, try to put that smoked tallow in there, and you're going to get that smoked overtone on those dishes, especially a smoked mac and cheese.
Yeah.
A lot of times when you smoke noodles, they're really absorbent and over smokes it. But if you just put some of that in your dish and make your roux with that beef tallow, it's an excellent dish.
Ernie, can you hold that brisket up for us that you've just trimmed down, just to see? I mean, you saw how big that was. So already when Chris is talking about his 50% loss whenever you buy a brisket, I mean, you can see the massive percentages there. And then when that gets cooked after anywhere between 12 and 16 and 18
Right.
hours, that would be almost half that size again. So you can see, so, you know, say like you're paying, like in the UK, 20 quid a kilo. On that 50% shrinkage, it's now 80 quid a kilo. You know, so it's a very, it's a very expensive meat to produce, and this is why you've got to be kind of good at it
Right.
to a degree, because you don't want any waste on 80 quid a kilo, you know,
Yes.
and you guys are pretty damn good at it.
We've gotten there. We did buy a lot of brisket at the beginning and threw away a lot of brisket because, it wasn't so
Yeah.
good. But, I mean, even bad brisket is not so bad. You can put it on tacos. You can top it with anything. You can make something out of it. But, yeah, it is intimidating to a lot of people. Back home, we teach classes once a month. We've been going on close to 4 years now with that class, and we sold out every single class but one, which was during COVID. So,
Yeah.
every single month, people want to come in and learn how to cook brisket because it can be intimidating, but it's kind of neat to sit out there with you and your smoker and just have time and know your thoughts. So
Yeah, I
pretty
agree.
cool.
I mean, it is. I mean, that's the beauty of slow and low, isn't it? You know,
Right.
that it's exactly that. It's not fast cooking. You're not
Right.
rushing it. And you're understanding what's going on. So tell me, is Panther BBQ open this weekend?
We are open. Yes, we're open.
Right, and
Yeah,
you guys are here.
Yeah, we got a great crew. It's all friends
Are you
and
constantly
family.
on WhatsApp where they're saying, boss,
maybe.
I can't
No,
find
not
this,
really.
boss, I can't find that.
Yeah, that never goes away, but that's the name of the game. But no, we've got so Ernie's two sons work in the pit room. One of his sons is the lead pit master. His other son makes all our in-house made sausages. My son works a cut block. I've got a daughter on cashier. I've got another
Oh,
daughter
hang
in
on, this
kitchen.
is a right old family
Family affair,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and were you helping out as a family when you had the food truck as well?
Yeah. I mean, we had kids in there helping prep and washing dishes.
I mean, it's so cheap, isn't it?
the-
Cheap labor.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So your
they make
profits
me
are
pay 'em.
fabulous.
I don't get away with that. They make me pay them well. So, but yeah, they would come out to our events and we would give them the first tray and they would walk out and parade it in front of people so they would smell it and then people would come to the food truck. So,
That's amazing. And then it's great you've raised them, that they're now pit masters. They're learning this craft. So it means you
Right.
can come here and
exactly.
hang out with us
yeah,
and tell
we get
us
to get out
about.
and play a little bit. So, but it is in Texas. Barbecue is a religion, and it's something we
It is.
pass on, and that's why we teach classes because we want that trade to carry on. It doesn't do us any good to safekeep that and guard it,
Yeah.
because then it goes away. So we love to teach it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important as well. And I think it's important to celebrate the culture and the roots of Texas brisket, and Texas barbecue in general.
Exactly.
Because I think it's got a. I mean, does everybody know about Texas barbecue, Central Market style? And and that's an immigration story, really, isn't
Right.
it? So it was German and Austrian settlers were turning brisket, which would ordinarily be thrown out. So when it wasn't sold as raw meat to be able to cook,
Right.
they were pickling it or turning it into pastrami or salt beef as a preservative.
Right.
And then that idea, so pastrami really is only solely a smoked product. as far as I'm concerned. And so that idea of preserving was just started to get passed down to us.
Exactly.
And there's some institutions of Texas barbecue, right? Smitty's, Black's, Lockhart.
Yep, Crites.
Yes, of course, Crites.
Yes.
I mean, all of these places. I mean, were there an inspiration for you?
Absolutely. We used to go down to Lockhart. I think my first memorable bite of Texas barbecue was John Mueller from the Mueller family.
Great sausage.
With his beef rib, too.
Yeah.
Beef rib just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was hooked. I said, I have to learn how to make this.
And beef rib is no mean feat. I think, for me, brisket and beef rib sit level in terms of difficulty to be able to, successfully make tender and produce.
Absolutely, yeah. It's patience, patience.
So I guess what I want to ask you, so have you been using British beef ribs over here?
We have here British, and I think these, what we have today, they just brought us cooking for tomorrow from Scotland.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
I was going to ask you how you find it. So, I mean, if you wouldn't mind, can you tell the audience the difference between sort of American or Texas beef, if you like, and what you think British beef is?
Yeah, so right now, Texas beef I see is a lot fattier. There's a lot of fat content throughout it. A lot of these farms and ranches gear it towards that because that's liquid butter inside there. Here, the cuts are kind of all over the place. Big cuts, little cuts. There are some great cuts in there. There's a lot leaner cuts, but that's something you have to play in with your cooking style and your temperatures. Stuff's going to finish quicker or not as quick, just depending what's in there. So you really have to know also what heat you can take that up to because everything's not going to be as tolerant as the next piece of meat. So we're kind of having to pattern stuff in a certain way on those smokers and treat it a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, British beef is grass-fed.
Yep.
Animals are more agile. They pasture a lot more. Whereas American meat or USDA meat is grain-fed.
Right.
So, I mean, and we do love to smoke grain-fed meat for barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
It's forgiving to cook. I think it's a little tastier. But, there's also a drive for us in the UK to really try and look at buying British.
Right.
And so really, it does make brisket very difficult. Brisket is the one that is really tricky if you're going to buy British meat.
Right.
But there's also a drive on using ex-dairy at the minute because it's a much fattier steer. And we can kind of get away with a slow and low on that as well.
Yeah.
But that brisket looked great. Is that a British brisket there?
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really good. I mean, the trim down is the trim is the size of what we're left with as well.
Yeah, pretty much. So you'll see that. It's really important to take it down to an aerodynamic shape. When we're smoking it, it's just like a sports car in the wind tunnel test.
Yeah.
The more dips and grooves you have, the more that smoke's going to deflect off that. You're going to have crunchy spots. You're going to have done spots, not so done spots. So we want that smoke to pass over evenly, and that was our goal right there, is to get that aerodynamic. Take off the thin spots because those are going to burn up by the time we get all this big, thick stuff over here cooked. So we just made it more aerodynamic. That's what we did.
I mean, I love that aerodynamic.
Yeah,
it's really because that's exactly the shape that it's in.
Exactly.
As well. And so, so the dish that we're going to try your Brisket Elote.
Yep.
Will you pull it together for us so we can have a look?
Yeah, let's put it together. First, we have to smoke this brisket. So y'all have 18 hours? No, nobody. Oh.
Yeah, just camp out for a while.
Yeah, TV magic. We have some already done for you guys. So yeah, this is our Brisket Elote dish. So basically, it's going to start with corn. We got to have corn. So what kind of corn do you use? If you can get corn on the cob, that's great. If you smoke it, that's great. We go through so much corn, there's no way we can go do it with corn on the cob. So we do use a canned corn. Really, if you go through it, you're going to find different qualities of corn like that. Really depending how rich you want it, how crunchy you want it. But that's what we've got. We have got...
So these are your garnishes here. So
yeah, so we start with a base of simple corn. We make our house-made cream corn. So an elote a lot of times was made with some kind of crema or mayonnaise base. That really wasn't appealing to us when we were first making ours, having mayonnaise with our brisket. So we did a cream corn base really with heavy cream cheese, and then we use a different cheese back home, but you can really use any blend of cheese.
Well, what cheese would you use back home, Chris?
So we use it's like a Fiesta blend cheese. It's a yellow cheese. It's usually got some white, like some mozzarella, and it's got some.
It's not the
cheddar mixed in it.
Velveeta then.
Not Velveeta.
Does somebody know what Velveeta is? It's a shelf-stable cheese.
Yes.
That you. Does that sound delicious? Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you're using the Fiesta cheese, so it's got a mixture of sharp cheddar and the other cheddars in it as well?
Yes, and you can use any cheese you want. You know, those things are going to have, some are going to have a little bit of saltiness, some are going to have more flavors than others. So really depending on where you're trying to go with it, and that's going to help determine your spice level too and your base on it. We'll use some cream cheese, or as it's called here, soft cheese.
Yes.
Heavy whipping cream. We use that to thicken that stuff up, and it just really makes a really good base for that thick cream. Really, salt and pepper is all you need. We like to kick it up. We make our own spices back home. We couldn't fly them over here. They were keeping all Ernie's bags of white powder. I don't know why. It was just, it was salt. It was salt. But what says Tex Mex more than Creole seasoning? We had it here. So we use this just to spice it up here today, but that's just to show you, even though we're not using what we use back home, we still made an excellent bite with this stuff. So that gives it just a little bit of flair and a little bit of spice to it. So basically what we did was we took our corn, we roasted our corn on a flat top, roasted it up, mixed it with all these ingredients, and just kind of put it on the stove top and mix it up until all those creams melt together. We'll go ahead and season the taste, depending how salty you like your food. Back in America, we're healthy. No, we're not.
No, we love salt too. We love salt.
So we put a good bit of seasoning in that stuff and just keep mixing it up. Add a little bit more cheese if we want to thicken that stuff up. If you don't like it so thick, you can thin it out with a little more of that heavy cream. But we're just going to let it sit there and kind of roast on that stovetop. Mix it up like that. We can set that to the side, and then of course, we already did the hard work. Ooh, that stuff's steaming.
Oh, yeah.
Chopped
so
brisket.
this is, so you've chopped the brisket here?
Yes, we chop it.
I mean, this looks, I mean, you can already see the smoke ring.
So you
like
guys can see that reddish tint to it. That's what's called a smoke ring. So that smoke ring, it's a chemical reaction with the meat and with the fats and that smoke. And when it hits it, it creates a real nice, pretty red ring around that piece of meat. A lot of times, if you see more fat left on there, you won't see as much of that ring because it doesn't penetrate down too. But that smoke really gets and absorbs into that piece of meat. It's more of a competition thing. It doesn't do anything for the flavor on that smoke ring. So if you smoke a brisket, don't get discouraged. But it really does look pretty.
Because sometimes you're right. You don't get the, even though you've smoked it in the same way, depending on the fat cap, you may not get smoke penetration, which can be a bummer if you're a bit of an ego or you're just learning it. But as you say, Chris, it doesn't matter. That smoke flavor is still going to be there. It's just about your trimming as well. So some of us might not want to trim as hard as we've done there. You might want to leave a bit more fat on as well, especially for British brisket.
Exactly. And a real cool competition trick, if you got to have that smoke ring, buy you some Tender Quick meat tenderizer. Cover that entire brisket with that meat tenderizer, let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then go rinse it off. Season your brisket like normal. You're going to get a smoke ring about this thick from that chemical reaction because of the nitrates.
That's right. So the British version of doing that would be using bicarbonate of soda. And bicarbonate of soda, which is the same as Tender Quick, it'll just start to sort of break down the proteins on the outside of your brisket. You got to rinse it off because it will taste like soap, but you get the most epic smoke ring from it. Yeah, it's about 3 inches. That's if you want a showboat. That's if size matters to you. And Matt said it does. There we go. We'll take your word for it, Matt. There we go. Great.
Exactly. So let's make one up.
Let's make one up.
So we've got our corn base, the most 2 important parts. We've got our cream corn base. And then we've got our brisket. And let's get a dish. We have some boats here to make one up.
Yes. Let me go just get some boats for you.
So we've got some garnishes here. We've already chopped up our cilantro, so that's just chopped cilantro. A lot of people don't like cilantro. They say it tastes like soap. I get that. You can use another different kind of garnish. We've got some jalapeno wheels sliced up. If you like spicy, you're going to love these things. If not, you don't have to put it on there. Wedged up some limes. We've also got some, we should have some hot sauces.
Oh, some hot sauce?
As well.
And there's a whole room of hot sauces out there. If only they heard us. All right, so we've got, there's our beef, there's our elotes. Could we just call them elotes and then people would know it was cream corned? Or would people think it's just the corn on the cob?
It really is a big debate. It's really regional. Most of the time, corn off of the cob is called esquites. So we created this big old argument online with Eater. We're like, we make it, we'll call it what we want. But we call it elotes.
Okay, we're going to call it elotes and blame you.
If
we get in trouble with Eater.
That argument, blame me.
So then we got some queso fresco there, which is fresh cheese.
Yeah, we typically use queso fresco here. They didn't have it available for us, so we used goat cheese today. We tried it earlier. Really good.
Yeah, I mean, you can make your own queso fresco. Just whole milk, a bit of lemon juice, heat it up to no more than 85 degrees, stir it, strain it, and you've got homemade ricotta or queso frescos there. Should have told me, Chef. I'd have brought some in for you. Could have been in my little hotel room trying to make you cheese.
A lot of people use cotija cheese.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and sometimes some people don't like that because it's got that Parmesan-y, that smell, that odor to it. So really, it's really whatever you like. Back in Texas and in Mexico too, a lot of chili powder on that. But we just put the spices into our corn. We don't want too many layers over the top of that to where it's chalky on top of a brisket. This has just worked for us over trial and error as we tweaked it.
I mean, this looks incredible, and you know, as a fellow pitmaster, it's been such a treat that you guys are over here. I mean, of course, we're surrounded by amazing pitmasters here at Tobacco Dog, which I absolutely love, but it's always an absolute personal treat when I get to meet some fellow Texas pitmasters, because you're our heroes. You're the ones that we're looking up to. You're the ones that we're following online, and we just love to cook with you. So, yeah, thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We did have Tuffy Stone on the stage last year. Yeah. He told us to go to Panther BBQ.
Nice.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
But but he should have, though, shouldn't he? He should have, though. Exactly.
He hasn't been either, so.
No, he hasn't, exactly. He'd be full of it, wouldn't he? Oh, Tuffy. You're welcome back, Tuffy, if you're watching. You're very welcome back. Listen, we're just coming to the end of our demo now. So if anybody goes to Dallas, that goes to Fort Worth, we should find Panther BBQ. Is it easy to get it? Do we queue? Do you go till you sold out?
Yeah, but we do enough to go all day. Like I said, we do 100 plus briskets a day. So
okay, you're not like that old Aaron Franklin selling out by 11 a.m.
we can't do that 3 o'clock stuff or 11 a.m. stuff. We run Wednesday through Sunday, 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
All right.
So we do lunch and dinner. We will sell out of certain items throughout the day, but usually brisket, we're loaded down. But brisket, beef ribs, pork belly burn-ins, barbacoa, guisada, we do smash burgers, we do quesadillas, tacos, we do it all. So,
and listen, we're incredibly proud of you guys for following your dreams. It started off with competition barbecue, then you had your food truck, now you've got your own bricks and mortars. So living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah, and it's such an inspiration, and we're hugely proud of you. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this with us.
Absolutely.
And who's up for some elote? Brisket Elote, yeah. It's going to be jonesing for this, honey. So please put a massive, massive hand together for Chris and Ernest from Panther BBQ. Thank you. And we'll make some of these up. So.